just when we thought it was over, nope, they've done it again, guys. They have raised the prices again at the Dollar Tree. But in this video, I'm gonna share with you guys all of the areas of the Dollar Tree that I still think it's worth shopping at, and still how you can get that high-end look in a budget-friendly way. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Starting off with seasonal decor. So of course, it's way too early to start really decorating for fall, but Dollar Tree has it all over the store to grab it before it's gone, because all of the good stuff will be gone by the time it is really socially acceptable to decorate for fall. So let me share with you the things that I consider to be the good stuff at Dollar Tree. I always like to look at high-end stores for inspiration on how you can really create a sophisticated look in your space. Avoiding things like this will end up looking cheap and tacky, and there are things at Dollar Tree that would just give your space a more elevated feel. Starting off with the most expensive item in this section, which are these woven fall pieces. Wovens just create a lot of texture and visual interest in your space, but they can be quite pricey when you shop high-end or even through Target, Home Goods. I searched high and low and nothing was as competitive as the price that Dollar Tree is charging, which is only $7. I ended up buying 2 of them. I personally wish they would just remove these leaves that just look cheap and just then charge $5 for the pumpkin. I think that that would create a more high-end look. Also from the Dollar Tree, grabbed 2 packs of these fairy lights at just $1.25 a piece, and we're just going to place these lights inside of these pumpkins just to give it a more whimsy feel, make it look a little bit more thought out and high-end versus just a woven pumpkin on a shelf. Just over $8 a piece for a woven pumpkin that has fairy lights with it is a really competitive price, and you're not gonna find it any cheaper than Dollar Tree. One piece that I had in my cart this year was this really beautiful tall cement pumpkin planter. While even in the plus section, you're not gonna find that exact thing at the Dollar Tree, you will find these fall dispensers. It also comes in a football form, but I'm gonna grab this pumpkin to give me the silhouette, or rather the mold, for our tall pumpkin planter. So the first thing I needed to do was make that opening at the top just a little bit wider in order for me to stick something inside that I would then be able to remove. Went over to the hardware store, grabbed 1 package of quick setting cement, and like I mentioned, we do need to open this up a little bit. So I just used my heat tool. If your hot glue gun gets really hot, you could probably just do it that way, or simply just use something that will fit inside that hole there. So I just filled it with cement. You guys have seen me mix cement so many times. You just want to get that pancake batter consistency. Once it has set, I usually wait about an hour or 2 to make sure that it's really set in there, and then taking again my heat tool to pry it open from the casing. Now you guys know I love things to be weathered and aged and rustic, but this was just a little too rustic for me, so I did decide to give it a gentle sanding just to even out some of those really rough spots. Now it's just time for paint. You could paint this whatever color you want. I just picked a nice neutral color so I won't get sick of it. I'm just using the color Suede. It's an acrylic paint from Michaels, and then I'm just mixing a little bit of baking soda in there, just applying that with a damp paper towel, and then I'm going to go over that with some antiquing wax. Now it's not identical, but I only ended up spending about $15 on this project, and I think it looks absolutely beautiful in my kitchen. Personally, I try to avoid most of the florals from Dollar Tree. You can just find better at the thrift store or even Michaels when you have a coupon or when they're discounted, but the major difference between the stems is the height. There's a eucalyptus stem that I like as well, but these maple stems, in terms of the leaf shape, and they're not super plasticky, so they look a little bit more realistic. These are, I would say, okay. But we can make these look a little bit more expensive by using things that we just have at home. So what I personally like to do is just go in my stash. You know the stash that your faux florals are just sitting there collecting dust. Instead of letting them collect dust, take them out and make them useful for you this fall season. I tried to find the tallest ones that I had and to unify them and also make them look more realistic like actual branches. I'm going to spray paint them with a matte spray paint by Krylon in the color Coffee Bean. Once those dried, now it's time to add these florals on. So what's nice is there are these little almost caps on faux florals, which just makes it an easy swap. So once you've placed all of those on, you could leave this as it is, and I think it already looks way better. But just to tone down the vibrancy of these, I'm just going to go over them with a watered down light brown paint and then just dabbing off the excess with a paper towel. Just make sure you're placing something underneath so you don't get paint everywhere. It is a kind of messy process, but honestly, I think it makes all of the difference. Tall stems that look just like this, even from Michael's, can be upwards around $20 a stem. And even with a 40% off coupon, it's still gonna be way more than you'll pay for when you just shop at Dollar Tree and make that easy swap. I have a feeling a lot of people are going to gravitate towards these, and these are nice, but I think $5 for such a small little candle is a little steep, so I would opt for these fall containers instead that are only $1.50. With one of these, I do plan on turning them into a fall candle, just taking half-used Yankee candles that are, again, sitting collecting dust. I can repurpose it for a lower price point. And then for the other one, I'm just going to turn it into a little match holder. And of course, you could just paint these whatever color you want. I've been really loving this satin classic bronze spray paint. It just gives that perfectly aged brass look. Grabbed a pack of matches for just $1.25. We're just going to put these inside of here. So for the match striker, you can just put it on the back or the bottom, just adhere it with some super glue gel. And things that look like this from Anthropologie, from Pottery Barn can cost upwards around $30. So for me personally, I would just rather spend $3 and get a near identical look. Another piece that I think is still a good deal despite its increase in price are these pumpkins here for just $1.50. Again, I searched high and low. These, despite the increase, are still the most competitive price. My plan for these is to remove that stem there, and I want to just create these flameless candles that you'll see often through Pottery Barn and other retail stores. Just one of these from Michael's is almost $25. Now I know you get the 40% off, but that's still way more than if you just spent about $3 per pumpkin. Another piece from the plus section is this tiered tray. For $7, I think it is worth the price point now. I'm not somebody who likes to put stuff like this in my kitchen. I think it gives a more cluttered look and it doesn't really serve a purpose. Only if it was food safe would I use this for that reason. But it is still worth the price because what you're getting are essentially 2 wood rounds and that rod there. So even if you don't use the rod, things that look just like this from Michael's are double the price, and now you have 2 of them. For the larger of the 2, you could make this into so many different things, but for me personally, I've been wanting to make a wall clock. My goal this week is to find a clock component at the bins and just apply it to this wood round here. And then for the smaller one of the 2, you could again make this into so many different things, but I just grabbed a plunger that is now $1.50, so it did increase. Took my miter saw, cut off that bottom piece there, and then just attached the 2 pieces together. Just a little toilet paper holder, nothing crazy, but for a clock and a functional decor piece for just $7, I think is a very fair price point. I know these are phasing out, but if you happen to come across these still at your store, they're still just $1.25, and I can guarantee you next spring they will not be. So they are plastic, but from a distance, they almost look like glass, and I think that you get an overall similar look to something you might find at World Market or Anthropologie for a fraction of the cost. Let's talk about home decor. So I'm pretty much just going to focus on items that are new because we know the same old, right? So one new thing that I found was this jug vase here, still just at that $125 price point, which I think is very fair. You can find things that look just like this at Target with faux florals for $25, but we can make that ourselves for a whole lot less. The shape of this little vase here is very reminiscent of things that you can find at high-end stores, but a miniature size. So taking some tan paint and just mixing it again with a little bit of baking soda, applying that with a foam brush. I ended up doing 3 coats total just to completely cover it. Now, if you like this vase as it is, great. You don't need to do anything to it. But I love a rustic or vintage look in my space, so I'm then just going to add a little bit of gray paint watered down, apply it with a wet paper towel to again get that weathered, aged look. While of course it's not a fair fight because I'm sure the one from Pottery Barn is huge, but I think there are times where you want little pieces like this to just add a little bit of life to a space that could use it. The next new piece that I found was this angled glass vase here. I liked the scale. This is a dead ringer for something you would find at Crate & Barrel, and it would not be for $1.25. So the first Dollar Tree I went to was charging $3 for this guy though. But when I went to the second one, it was only $1.25. So of course I made sure to stock up. I bought 3 of them. You don't need to do anything to this. This could just look beautiful. Get some flowers from your garden or clippings from a neighbor. The most annoying thing for me about the glassware items from the Dollar Tree is removing the labels. So I saw a hack on TikTok to just take a blow dryer, and it does remove almost all of the adhesive. Just let it heat up a little bit and then you can pretty much get almost all of it, and then I just take a baby wipe to remove any of the excess residue. Because I used hydrangeas in that glass vase, a nice pairing is a mister, but you don't have to spend $13 at Target. You can spend $1.25 at the Dollar Tree. If you love hydrangeas as much as I do, one thing that you'll notice is to water them, of course you need water in the vase for the stems, but they also need water through the petals. So having something like this that's nearby is the perfect addition. Going to Pottery Barn is like going to lantern heaven. You can find every shape, style of lantern at Pottery Barn. So these lanterns here are just $5 for the largest size and $3 for the smaller one. So I grabbed a few of these. Now let's talk about some ways that you can use them. So obviously the most common way is to just stick some sort of a candle in here. It could be flameless, or you could even use a real candle. Couple things I want to point out. Of course, there is no glass, but I like that it's actually metal, not plastic made to look like metal. So you could take a solar light from the Dollar Tree and just place that in there. Total cost of this is just $1.25. Or take a lantern that you already have, place it inside, hang it up on a shepherd hook, or if you do plan on putting this on the floor outside, just make sure you're weighing that bottom piece down somehow. Because these are lightweight, you want to make sure that you can stabilize them some way. The most common way I'm sure people will use these is to just add a candle, maybe add some fairy lights for that added glow. Because there isn't any glass to hold the fairy lights in, I would just take a little bit of black electrical tape and stabilize those in place. But how I personally thought about using these, really loved those wall lanterns from Pottery Barn for $2.49. That's just not in my budget for one lantern. So I find these all the time in the Christmas section at my thrift store. So I'm just gonna grab one of these and I'm gonna place it inside of here. The only thing I really wanted to do to this piece was just to spray paint it all black, just to make it look like the one from Pottery Barn. The base piece that I end up using, because the piece that it comes with is just a little bit too tall, was just something I had in my stash. So I would just go to Lowe's and buy these little plastic caps that you can put in, so then that way it stays nice and secure. All that's left to do now is just secure it in place. You could do E6000, super glue gel, just use something, especially if it is going to be outside, that can weather the storm. Of course it's not identical, but for just about $6.50, I think it's pretty close. Next up are these woven boxes. So these are not necessarily new, but what I want to remind you guys is to look past what the item is and just focus on the material. So this woven material, for me, looks like it should cost more than just $1.25. So just remove any of the components that obviously turn it into a box and just set those off to the side, because next week I'm gonna share with you guys how you can turn 4 of these woven boxes into a really beautiful woven lamp for just $5. Another piece that I believe will give a more high-end look is this ribbed candle here. There are other candles that are also $5. I think that this one is the one that will get you the closest to a more elevated space. From a distance, these aren't terrible, but I really don't like that they're plastic, so I would opt for either the ribbed candle or get a lantern style candle and put it in a hurricane vase instead. Another piece that is new to me are these glass trays. Glass brass trays from high-end stores are almost always at least $30. So if you can get the same look for just $5 from Dollar Tree, I definitely recommend picking these up. Now, of course, you can use these as trays, but you could also put these up on your wall. Magnolia has this really beautiful display cabinet, and I think if you just removed the mirror part and made some sort of a pin board inside of here, I think it would look really close on a budget. This is a DIY channel, so of course we need to talk about Crafters Square. So some of these are actually cheaper than they used to be. So these galvanized pieces are just 4 pieces for $1. I'm not totally sure how long this is going to last, so I wanted to pick these up now because I have some plans for these for Christmas, but you can make these into so many different things and it's so affordable. Another piece that is also 4 for $1 is the vinyl. So specifically if you use a Cricut or if you use the leather-like vinyl for projects, now is the time to go and grab it. The rest of the fabric is still just $1.25, which is a really great deal. You can buy all of the things you need to make pillows, to reupholster something at the Dollar Tree, and it will always be the most affordable. Another DIY material is definitely worth picking up from the Dollar Tree are their stamps, because they're only $1.25. If you go to Michael's or Hobby Lobby, you're gonna pay 10 times as much for literally the same thing. Even these here, these are just $1.25, super affordable at Dollar Tree. If you go to Michael's, it's going to be $15.99. Same goes for the clear blocks. So obviously there's more in here, but you only really need this. So it's $1.25 again. So you can create so many different projects just by spending about $5 on all of these pieces. How this works is basically you need to take this stamp block, just open it up, and then you need to cut out the letters or the pattern that you want to use, and you just stick it on there. It's basically just a way for you to not put your fingers in the ink, and it gives you something to latch onto and it sticks right to it. For the letters, you do have to cut them out individually to use them, and it does get kind of chaotic because all of them are cut up and you have to really dig through the one you're looking for, but if you're looking for an affordable way to get the look, this is definitely it. The only thing I don't buy, and it's just because they never have the color I want. They have like green and red, so I do buy the ink from Michael's, which is usually about $4. You can also stamp a lot of things besides just paper, so you could use this for a fabric-related project. So just taking this floral motif here, some scrap fabric from the Dollar Tree, just to show you guys how easy it really is. If you're trying to make a block printed pillow, just multiply those over the entire fabric and you can have a totally custom, beautiful piece on a budget. Taking a few of these metal tags, I'm just going to spray paint them, that classic bronze spray paint that we used earlier on in this video. Also grabbed these plant labels. This is really ideal for when you're seed starting because obviously things are grown so you know what they are, but rarely would I need 200 pieces. I more need probably 20 and I can spend just $2.50 to get there. But these decorative labels can really be enhanced with just a few little DIY tricks. So again, I'm also just going to spray paint this with some classic bronze spray paint, and we are just going to use our stamps that we picked up from the Dollar Tree. If you have a label maker or a Cricut, you could even make these look more embossed. Or I also have metal stamps that I do plan on using for the holidays just to make some custom gift tags. But for now, I'm just going to make this little custom bookmark for a gift idea. These are so easy to make. Just take a little floral motif, age it a bit with some antiquing wax, add some suede ribbon that you have left over in your stash, gift it with a book, and I think it's just a really thoughtful but affordable gift idea. Now let's talk about the scrap wood. So if you're comparing how much wood could you get at Lowe's versus Dollar Tree, you're going to get a better price per unit at Lowe's, but oftentimes you don't need as much as you're buying. I have so much wood left over, generally speaking, so it's nice when you just want to make small little projects and still save, because boxes like this at Michael's are going to be 2 to 3 to 4 times the price than they are at Dollar Tree. A piece I really love from Magnolia is this wood wall shelf and rail, but it's almost $200, and that's just bananas. So we can make something similar, smaller, but similar, for a lot less, just using Dollar Tree things. So just grab 4 of these wood boxes from the Dollar Tree. Also from the tools section, grab the wood glue there. It's just more affordable. You don't need to use the Gorilla Glue. It works exactly the same. Just placing it on the bottom half to connect all of the boxes together. You could use clamps here, but I found that it was honestly sticking really well without them, so I just made sure that they were as straight as possible. I loved the little labels on all of the boxes from Magnolia, so I'm just going to take the ones from these frames here and just attach them. I know that Dollar Tree in the past has had boxes with these labels almost exactly like this, but I didn't find those boxes at my store, but if you do, that would be another good option. I also grabbed these wall hooks here. I liked that J hook, and then also for a means to hang our wall shelf, I just grabbed that hanging component from this as well. Now it's just time for paint or stain. I like to use this antiquing wax. I like to apply my wax generally with a foam brush that I also pick up at the Dollar Tree. Ended up just doing 1 coat until everything was completely covered, and then let that sit to dry. Once it dried, then I just wanted to add those brackets that we took from the picture frames. You could be really technical with this. I just eyeballed it, tried to make them as centered and leveled as possible. On the back then, I just took that hanger component, added that as well as the J hook so we could slide a dowel through. For the dowel, I just grabbed this 2-pack from the Dollar Tree, still just $1.25. We're just going to use 1 of them to complete this project. Again, using that same antiquing wax with a foam brush. Let that dry, and then it's just time now to slide it into place. Now, of course, it's not identical, but for just about $10, I think if you have a small space that you're trying to work on, projects like these are really great and you don't need to spend a fortune. Because that dowel pack had 2 in it, for the other one, we can just take this eyeglass pouch that is leather, and we are just going to cut sections off so that we can slide that dowel through it. To secure it to the wall, I just used push pins from the Dollar Tree. Again, just $1.25. Something really similar from Amazon is going to cost way more. So try to find those areas that you can save without sacrificing style. Next up, let's talk about the kitchen. So the item isn't new, but the size is. It's a new, larger size for still just $1.25. So my thought for this is I have been really loving these book stands, but every single one that I find is so crazy expensive. My thought was, what if we could just take those bamboo pieces and turn this into a book stand? You could also do this if you have 2 identical pieces of scrap wood, but this is just a really easy option. The only thing I really did was just measure the depth of these bamboo boards, and I made a marking of where I thought it should go in order for it to still be symmetrical. So the first time I did it, I didn't like how much wood was still on the one that we cut, so I did decide to deepen it a little bit so that way it just created a more seamless look. Before connecting the pieces together, it's just easier to paint or stain when things are separated. So I just separated them temporarily. I first went in with the wax, but despite sanding these bamboo boards down, it just created a haziness on the boards. So I decided then to do a color wash of some grayish paint mixed with water, and then I took a bristle brush, also from the Dollar Tree, just to create a grain-like look. If you're on a budget, this is a really easy project to give a try, and you can save a significant amount of money. Other kitchen items I would recommend. I love these mugs here. These are definitely giving some Magnolia energy, but for $1.50, even with the price increase, it's still going to be much more affordable at Dollar Tree. Other pieces, this wood charger here, $1.50 is a steal when you compare it to Pottery Barn's $29.50. Now, the one from Pottery Barn is acacia wood, so I understand why it's more expensive. It's also more difficult to clean. So I would definitely recommend going this route because you're going to have such a seamless, beautiful, classic look, but on a budget. Now let's talk about some of the cleaning supplies. So these sponges here, so when you're looking at higher end homes, you don't see sponges like green, blue, purple. You have sponges that look like this. If you see them at all, which oftentimes you don't. So just making those small modifications will just enhance the look of your space tremendously, and you can do it so affordably by just shopping at the Dollar Tree. Moving along now to organization. So this is an area, especially now because of back to school, that you can really score on some great items. All of these acrylic organizers are so much more expensive if you even go to Walmart or Target, and you just don't need to spend that when they have these at the Dollar Tree for just $1.25. Now, for these acrylic organizers, they have gone up in price to $1.50, still going to be way more affordable than anything you'll find at the Container Store, at Target, even Home Goods. It's never going to be $1.50. So it's better to buy those pieces at the Dollar Tree than anywhere else. Also, don't forget that you can just use these items other than their intended purposes, like this stackable wine bottle holder. If you don't drink wine, maybe instead just use it to stack some of your tumbler cups, and it can stay nice and organized, but affordable at Dollar Tree. Another example, like I know these are supposed to be for makeup, but I prefer to use it for something like toothbrushes, toothpaste. So again, it just looks a little bit more aesthetic. Another item are these jars here. I like that the lid is actually wood, and anything at Target or Amazon is going to be way more expensive. So buying them at Dollar Tree just makes more sense. Also, I like that you could put it like this, or there's also a flat surface that you could angle them as well. Just again, a little bit more versatile and really affordable. Also, look out for these wire baskets specifically. They're just still $1.25. Anything at Target is going to be maybe a little bigger, but not worth the price difference that you're gonna pay. I use these little Dollar Tree baskets all around my house, in my pantry, in my closet, in my bathroom, for my kids' things, and they are so affordable at just $1.25. Next up, let's talk about wall art, wall decor. You can create really beautiful large-scale pieces at the Dollar Tree. One thing that I have noticed is they now have like an entire poster section. Feels very much like Five Below, actually. If that is your thing, I would recommend buying it at Dollar Tree, because anything that is almost identical from Amazon will be much more. Grab a frame from the thrift store, or they did have these poster clips here to really enhance the look. They have come a long way with their lighting. I think there's still some room to grow, but I think it is getting a lot better. So I found this little rechargeable light here. This is perfect in a pantry, in a coat closet, in a linen closet. It's small enough, and again, it just adds a little bit more functionality without breaking the bank. To elevate it just a little bit, I'm just going to tape off that light section there, and I'm going to paint it with some classic bronze spray paint. You could also spray paint it black. Another thought I had though was, because this light specifically, it's supposed to be like a spotlight, this light specifically caves in almost. So I thought about just grabbing like a globe pendant to put on top of it, instead of having it aim down, just having it aim up. So I'm gonna go to the thrift store this week, see if I can find globe shades that are more size appropriate for these, and we will see if they pan out. But back over to the artwork, there are so many different options to choose from. It just depends what your style is. I did pick up both of these for fall, so of course I'm not gonna put them up yet, but I do plan on making these into a little bit more of a larger wall art piece just by taking some poster board. The poster board from the Dollar Tree is still just $2 for $1. I plan on doing a double matte that's just a more vintage elevated look, and I think you don't have to pay the $30 or whatever at Target. You can spend a lot less simply just by shopping at the Dollar Tree. Let's talk about some party supplies. So the cards are still $2 for $1. I think that is a great price, especially when you compare it to places like Target and Walmart. Gift bags have increased to $1.50. Again, still way more affordable, and I love the gift bags from the Dollar Tree. I find that the quality is just as good as something you would find at Target, but for way less. The wrapping paper is still just $1.25 as of now. I don't know if that's going to change in the future. A lot of people don't like the wrapping paper from the Dollar Tree, but I like that it is thin because it's easier to manipulate. I know sometimes it tears, but sometimes this wrapping paper from Target is so thick, it's impossible to get like nice clean seams. And I know you don't get as much of it, but oftentimes you don't need that much if you're just wrapping 1 or 2 presents for like a wedding or a birthday party. So I would just rather spend the $1.25. The tissue paper is also still just $1.25. I've seen on TikTok people are wrapping their spare extra toilet paper in tissue paper just to give it again a more elevated look. I think that's a really cute idea just to make things that might not be the most aesthetically pleasing a little nicer. Anything that is like candles for a birthday cake or actual wall decorations is going to be way more affordable than anything you'll find at Michael's. But when it comes to if you're doing like a balloon garland or something like that, Amazon actually I think is a better price because by the time you've bought all of the pieces to complete it, I think you're gonna actually spend more. So I would just check. I think it depends what you're making, but now that it is $1.50, just take that into consideration. Last but not least, I might not recommend buying your like entire gift at the Dollar Tree, but definitely for add-on pieces, it's great. So cookbooks are always one of those things you can find at the Dollar Tree for just $1.25, which is even better than the thrift store. So I personally think a really kind of no-brainer gift idea is to find a cookbook from the Dollar Tree. Find a recipe in that book and you can either bookmark it or just open it to that page and then gift all of the pieces with it. So we are going to make a fondue gift set idea. So you can find fondue pots anywhere. I usually find them at the thrift store. They're really affordable. Flip the book to the page that has the recipe that you're gifting all of the pieces with it. So the bread, the cheese, the wine, get all of the pieces together. I always like to throw an herb in there. I think it just makes any gift pop, and you can get such a beautiful gift for a really affordable price point. When it comes to the beauty products from Dollar Tree, I generally just like to stick to, even if it's just for me or I'm gifting it, sticking to brands that are also sold at places like Ulta is a good place to start. This skincare though, I will say I really like it, and it's only $1.25 per piece, and then just adding like a rose quartz facial roller. It's more expensive on Amazon, or you could buy it from the Dollar Tree for a lot cheaper. And the beauty section specifically is very hit or miss. So I went to 2 different Dollar Trees just to price compare and make sure that I had all of the pieces that I wanted to share with you guys. But when it came to the beauty section, there was a huge difference between the two of what each Dollar Tree sold. So if you're not finding what you hope to find at your Dollar Tree, try a few more and you might get lucky. But I like to just find these pieces. I save them for Christmas or somebody's birthday, and you can create a really brand name specific, thought out gift. Even if you don't buy the whole thing at Dollar Tree, buying those pieces when you see them can save you a significant amount of money when you need them. With all that being said, that really wraps it up for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been a while since I've done a Dollar Tree video, and I think even despite the price increase, there's still a lot of deals and money to be be saved when shopping at the Dollar Tree. But I want to know from you guys, do you like Dollar Tree videos or do you just prefer the thrifting content? So if you could just do me a favor, leave me a comment down below just saying if you like both or do you prefer one over the other. With all that being said, I hope that everybody has a fantastic week and I will see you back here next Sunday. Bye for now.